Sean of Q Face Paint Cosplay, and today we are going to make a Barbie cosplay from the new Barbie movie that's coming out next month. And not just any Barbie cosplay, we're actually going to take the pink gingham skirt and the pink gingham beach look and combine them into a 50s inspired convertible playsuit. And a convertible playsuit is very Barbie coded, but we're going to talk about that later. Lizard Lee just posted their cosplay build of a Lavender Town witch hat, and while they were making that video, they revisited a childhood classic, the first Pokemon movie. I loved that video, and if you're not following them, you absolutely should. And it really inspired me to make something similar, but I can't revisit a childhood classic here because I have never seen a Barbie movie. I really don't know how I've avoided them for this long. So today we are going to be making my dream Barbie gingham playsuit, and we'll be watching Barbie in the Nutcracker, the first Barbie movie. I'm going to be making a cosplay from the newest Barbie movie and watching the first Barbie movie. Let's get started. When I see pink gingham, I definitely see Barbie, but in her first 20 years, she rarely wore it.
Miss Barbara Millicent Roberts came out on the scene in 1959. The idea was that you purchased one doll that was cheap, but you had to buy each separate outfit. Barbie wasn't seen in pink gingham until 1965. The set was called Dancing Doll and came with a pink gingham dress with a white collar, pink leather belt, white pumps, and a record player, playing her own Barbie record because she's an icon. Barbie's younger sister Skipper was issued a coordinating outfit that same year called Me and My Doll. This included a pink gingham dress with nylon slip, white socks and shoes, and most importantly, a mini Barbie with her own pink gingham skirt. In the late 60s, a Francie doll, that was released only in Japan, had an entire pink gingham ensemble, but Barbie wasn't seen in pink gingham again until 1973, when she was released as Quick Curl Barbie, wearing mixed gingham, sheer sleeves with black bows, and a collar with a black tie. Barbie would then see some pink gingham in her bargain fashion packs in the late 70s, and then again as My First Barbie in 1982, who wore pink lace tank and a pink gingham skirt.
Barbie has a long history with playsuits. Playsuits became very popular in the 40s and the 50s as women's sportwear, and they usually consisted of a romper, an overskirt, and like other coordinating pieces. And the idea was that you could wear your romper out when you're playing sports, when you're going to the beach, definitely in the summertime, but then you could put on your skirt later when you have to go to dinner so that you could still be a lady.
Barbie's relationship to playsuits is very different. Barbie isn't worried about showing her legs out in public, but there are a couple of instances where we find items that Barbie is given options to convert her outfit. After Mattel started going away from the buy one doll, buy many outfits model, and started producing different dolls for different outfits, they started exploring how creative we can make these outfits so multiple avenues for play could happen. You see that in Pretty Changes Barbie, where she's got a couple of different accessories where she can change them out to top off her jumpsuit as well as her hair color. You can see that in Dream Date Barbie, who's got this absolutely wild swirly thing that can turn into different dresses or an evening gown or something else. I don't know, it's kind of crazy. I also have Pink and Pretty Barbie that's kind of the same thing. It comes with a bunch of different accessories that you can wear in different ways to change the outfit every time you play.
And that's definitely the vibe I'm getting from this outfit that we're making today. I don't know for sure, but I can see Barbie taking this pink gingham look, changing it up for when she goes to the beach, and then changing it back for when she goes to dinner at her dream house. And that's the vibe I'm bringing into my project today. The plan is to build 3 pieces: the under romper, an over skirt apron, and an overskirt. I purchased this pink gingham from Joann's a couple of months ago, but it is not screen accurate. So I am still looking for a 1-inch buffalo plaid. But the shorts do look like they are a small check from the research images that I saw. So I'm going to use this for the shorts, and then the other fabric I find, the 1-inch buffalo plaid. I've already purchased a pink sun hat, a blonde wig, and a pearl belt buckle, but there's still some more stuff that I need, so I have to go to the craft store. Time for a field trip.
Shopping at Joann's was actually pretty disappointing this time around. Not only did I not find pink buffalo plaid, I didn't even find the gingham that matches the yardage I bought earlier. I ended up grabbing some thread, interfacing, and modeling clay, and it wouldn't be a proper Joann's run if I didn't purchase a ton of yardage of other stuff that looks super cool but isn't even close to being helpful for this project. Oh well. I've purchased some yardage of pink 1-inch buffalo plaid from onlinefabricstore.com, and it should be here in a couple of days. I'm going to use that to build the bodice, the skirt, the apron, and to cover my hat. The small gingham will have to be for the shorts. Hey, bad news. You know how I bought 8 yards of gingham fabric from onlinefabricstore.com? They just messaged me and they said, oh, it's on back order. They're not going to get it to me on time, so I've tried to cancel that order. And after reading that email, I was like all flustered, and I bought sheets on Amazon that look to be the right kind of gingham. I won't know until they get here, so they should be here tomorrow. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I have to see when it comes in. It looks pretty good. I'm at work today, and there's this like giant American flag. I don't know if you can tell. You see it? It's like a giant American flag. Okay, that's the update. I'm gonna go back to work.
I'm patterning this project myself by drafting patterns using my measurements. Why don't I just use a commercial pattern, you might ask? Well, because I can't. Those patterns don't fit me. I have to do this for a lot of my projects, actually. The big 4 pattern companies don't make most of their patterns in extended sizes. Pattern drafting is not rocket science. It's math. Geometry, in fact. And it doesn't take a genius to see that these commercial patterns are not fit for my circumference. Never fear, Cashmerette is here. Founder Jenny Rushmore had a very hard time finding patterns that fit a larger body. She was running into the same problems she was running into when she was trying to buy clothes from the store. The math just isn't adding up. So she had an epiphany. You should not make your body fit the clothes, but make clothes that fit you.
Cashmerette Club is a monthly, members-only online sewing club. Every month, members receive a new PDF sewing pattern in sizes 0 to 32 and cup sizes C to H, as well as a variety of other goodies. An exclusive fitting masterclass taught by Jenny, access to live virtual events, and a discount to the Cashmerette shop, and more. If you want to start or continue your journey to a beautiful, well-fitting, handmade wardrobe, Cashmerette Club is the place to do it.
And if you sign up between June 12th and 19th with my special link, you'll get 25% off all access and a free Cashmerette pattern of your choice. So I'm not using a Cashmerette pattern for this project today, but I have used them in the past and had great results. And I use Cashmerette articles all the time for helping me fit and change patterns so that they fit me perfectly. I also have a Cashmerette pattern on the cutting table for next time, and I don't think you want to miss that one. Let's pattern this.
I'm going to be using my pattern block for the patterning of the bodice, but I will have to draft the shorts off my measurements. I actually kind of like the drafting process. It's like when you were in grade school and you'd have these like worksheets that you'd plot out points on a graph. We would connect the dots and then it would be an image of something that we could color in. Did anyone else have that? Like weird math, art, busy work hybrid? It's almost exactly the same process. Based on my measurements, I plot everything out using my fancy drafting rulers. And then I'm going to sew up a muslin to do a preliminary fitting. I know that pattern drafting paper, or like paper with an alpha numeric grid that you can purchase in rolls, that's really nice, but I'm still the kind of like tape a few pages of printer paper together to make it work kind of person. I do my mock-ups out of a white cotton that I have on hand. I do any of my fitting notes looking in a full-length mirror and making notes directly onto the fabric. It's pretty janky, but whatever. I don't have a dress form, so I have to do it like this. Hey Max, what are we doing?
Getting a latte.
We're getting a latte.
Thank you very much.
Oh, great. Look at the corn. I had to make a couple of alterations, and it still isn't perfect, but it got the job done. I then take a final muslin apart, transfer it to another set of printer paper taped together, and I can finally cut my fabric. Since cutting fabric is my least favorite part of the sewing or creating process, I think it's time to do something fun. It's time to start the movie.
Barbie and the Nutcracker is the first in a series of computer animated films co-produced by Mainframe Entertainment and Mattel, and it came out on October 2nd, 2001.
She's a princess.
I'm a princess. Costume change. The film is loosely adapted from E.T.A. Hoffman's 1816 short story called The Nutcracker and the Mouse King and the Tchaikovsky ballet of the same story. Though it was sent straight to VHS and DVD a few months later, the film did extremely well. It sold 3.4 million units by the next year, cementing Barbie movies as a lucrative and sustainable endeavor for the franchise. The opening credits start with two Kelly fairies, one who makes flour and one who makes cold. And as someone who has never seen these films, I knew what the computer animation looked like, and it is a little uncanny valley at sometimes, but it's a lot less off-putting than I thought it was going to be, so I'm not going to harp on that too much.
Barbie and her sister Kelly are rehearsing for a ballet solo, but Kelly is having some trouble and some stage fright. Barbie sits her down and starts to tell her a story of the Nutcracker.
It's a story within a story, like this video, which is a story within a story within a story within a cosplay build.
Once upon a time, we find a girl named Clara on Christmas Eve. She receives a surprise visit from her Aunt Elizabeth and a gift of a nutcracker. First impressions on Aunt Elizabeth: she's a world traveler. She plays by her own rules. She makes the old stuffy Dosselmeyer grandfather guy get all flustered because she's filling Clara's head with, silly stories. Also, Liz, who did your hair, and can I apprentice with them? Tommy, Clara's little brother, calls the Nutcracker ugly, and Aunt Elizabeth says this:
"He sure is ugly."
Tommy? On the outside, maybe. But inside beats the heart of a prince.
I understand what foreshadowing is, but, why are you calling the Nutcracker ugly? That night, Clara falls asleep by the Christmas tree, only to be awoken by a ruckus started by the Mouse King and her Nutcracker, who is inexplicably alive. They're in a heated battle, during which Clara comes to save the day, but the Mouse King uses his magic to cast a spell on her and shrink her down to doll size. He shrinky-dinked her. The Nutcracker continues to keep the Mouse Army at bay, and Clara helps by clocking the Mouse King in the head with her slipper. Also, can we pause real quick? That can't be. That's Tim Curry. Tim freaking Curry voices the Mouse King.
This really ups the sophistication of this production.
Clara knocks him out, and the mice army retreat back into the mouse hole. Clara is very tiny and asks for help from her Nutcracker, but he says the only way they can change her back is to go find the Sugar Plum Princess. The owl from the grandfather clock overhears them and gives them instructions to find the princess. She also gives Clara a locket from the ballet ornament and tells her if she opens it, she can return home. The Nutcracker and Clara then set out on their journey by entering the mouse hole, which is a portal magical super slide.
We're already differing greatly from the Nutcracker story, though they are using ballet and a lot of the music as a recurring theme so far.
Though there is not a lot of dancing as of yet. Kind of like the sewing project.
Not a lot of sewing so far. Let's fix that.
Okay, so now that the sheets are here, I'm going to salvage some fabric from these pillowcases. I flip them out and cut off the seaming. I use sheets all the time. It's a great way to recycle. I just wouldn't advise using microfiber because it's just not great fabric. Now that the patterning is all done, I've already cut out the shorts from the small gingham fabric, and I'm going to work on those first. I built the shorts just like normal, except instead of a waistband, I extended the top of the shorts a few inches in preparation for attaching it to the bodice. I'm also going to wait to hem the shorts till I have the full romper together. I'm running into a lot of issues with this fabric. The first one is that it's puckering a huge amount. I should have anticipated this because it's microfiber and I need sharper machine needles. So luckily Max was able to grab some for me and the sewing went forward a lot smoother. Look what came in the mail! Wow! Yay! Just in time. I ended up making 2 bodices because the first one was too flimsy and it looked a hot freaking mess. And then I decided to starch and flatline the second bodice to hold the structure better, and it did go better, but it's still not perfect. I used pink gingham bias tape to make the spaghetti straps, even though it's not like the original. It's just easy, and it made the back's raw edges have somewhere to go. To do the heart in the back, I drew it out on the lining, stitched it to the bodice, clipped the curved seam, and flipped it inside out. I also attached the top to the bottoms at the waist and tried it on for the first time. And I don't love it. I have this problem of things that I make that if I look at it for too long, I can't see it anymore and I only see the problems. So I'm going to take a pause on this, and I'm going to brainstorm what I could do to fix it and make it better, and then come back to it. The best thing to do is to take a break and come back to it. So, back to the movie.
Once Clara and the Nutcracker go through the portal, they end up in an ice cave where they find a group of snow fairies, one of which we saw during the opening credits. The Kelly that makes cold.
They challenge her to do a ballet, but Clara is not great, and the snow fairies show her up by performing a whole number. Then the group enters the Nutcracker's home of Parthenia.
Uh-oh, Bat character. He's like a knockoff Bartok from Anastasia here in this movie. He sees the Nutcracker and flies back to the Mouse King to tell him, but he exploits him for snacks, which, same. I also am too hungry to be an informant.
The Mouse King, after hearing about the search for the Sugar Plum Princess from the Bat, seems like he has no idea who this princess is. Meanwhile, the Nutcracker and Clara travel through the gingerbread village that has been ransacked.
A gingerbread, war-torn country. Not a sad doll! Not like Mulan!
They find 2 children and a pink horse named Marzipan. The children, who are wearing adorable outfits, tell Clara about everything and how it all went bad and how their prince went missing.
What? A missing prince? Do you have an idea of where the prince is?
Clara has 0 time to put 2 and 2 together when the Fire Nation attacks, and the Mouse Army tries to destroy the group. But the day is saved by Major Mint and Captain Candy, the leaders of the villagers who have gone into hiding. Mint is not a fan of Prince Eric. Apparently, he was very cavalier about being the leader, and the king appointed the mouse as king until Eric would take the throne, but
just like most mice, you give him an inch of power and he takes over your entire kingdom. He tries to kill all of your villagers, and then he turns your prince into a nutcracker. Oh yeah, the prince is the Nutcracker. But Clara has time to put 2 and 2 together, and she totally plots the Nutcracker as the missing prince.
You're more than a nutcracker, Prince Eric.
back with the Mouse King, he is searching through every list of people that has ever existed, and he only sees one instance where the princess exists in the registry.
Here it is, the Sugar Plum Princess. Kind, clever, and brave. That's it.
It says she's kind and brave, but not where she lives. So his response is to turn a pillar into a giant rock monster like in Galaxy Quest. I hope that wasn't a load-bearing pillar. Giant rock monster and bat are set to destroy the Nutcracker. Mint and Candy join Clara and the Nutcracker on their quest. Mint is bossy and decided to be the leader of the expedition. Mint and Candy try to prepare the boat to get across the Sea of Storms, and Clara and the Nutcracker find a well that has been boarded up.
Opening the well reveals the spring fairies that were trapped there, and oh yeah, we get to find the Kelly who makes flour!
When the rock monster gets there, they destroy the ship, so the snow fairies come and freeze the ocean. The group jumps on Marzipan, the pink horse, and a chase ensues. The Nutcracker uses his sword to crack the ice, causing the rock giant to sink into the sea.
the group make it to the other side of the Sea of Storms? Will they find the lost princess? Maybe the princess is the friends that we made along the way. I don't know. I wrote that in my notes and I have no idea what that means. Let's get back to sewing.
I've taken some time away from the romper. When we last saw it, I wasn't vibing with it, so I've slept on it, and now it's a new day. I added a few things to it. I added some gussets in the side and some elastics so that it's more comfortable and I can pull it up over my hips instead of adding a zipper to it. And it's still having a lot of problems. I feel like the fabric is just really hard to work with, and at this point, done is better than perfect, and that's really hard for me to say, but I'm just gonna have to let it go. Barbie's perfect day dress has a pleated skirt with a pearl accented belt buckle. I ordered a belt off of Amazon that had a very similar belt buckle to hers that I can salvage for this skirt. I'm going to use a large rectangle, 3 yards by 2 feet. You can always add more length if you want a fuller skirt. I had to reduce 60 inches into my box pleats, but instead of doing a bunch of math, I eyeballed it and made the pleats as even as possible to fit everything. I cut a waistband to my measurements plus 2 inches. I also had a fusible interspacing of the same length. The waistband I cut was 4 inches wide so that when I fold it in half, I have 2-inch waistband when I'm done. I attached the interfacing, I pleated the skirt to the band, and then I top stitched it down, hemmed it to the length that I wanted. I added the belt buckle by pulling off the metal inside of the buckle and hand sewing it to the waistband. I use this method because even with the interfacing, the waistband is not really strong enough to hold the belt buckle. I added 2 snaps to the back as closure. For the apron skirt, I measured the same waistband, I cut it out of the fabric and interfacing, and I attached them and set it aside. For the actual apron, I measured it out by holding the fabric up to my body. But because the apron's hem is scalloped and the fabric has been giving me so much trouble so far, I wanted to make sure that the fabric was interfaced to make this easier. So I interfaced the entire fabric piece, drew out my scallops using a round edge, and cut it out. When I flatlined the apron to the white cotton, I clipped the seam allowance, flipped the whole thing inside out, and pressed it. I then attached the apron piece to the waistband that I made. Couple issues with this. The fabric is really trying to fight me here, and it's puckering and pulling. And since the interfacing has no stretch, the apron doesn't meet in the middle like I wanted it to. So to fix this, I attached a lap closure with a skirt hook. The back of the costume has a big bow, so I made mine a little bigger to bridge the gap in the back. I pressed and steamed the crap out of it to get the puckering to relax. And I do think it looks better now, but I just don't look too close at it, please. Right now, I'm very concerned about what's going on in Parthenia.
Our heroes make it to the island and see before them a beautiful palace. But uh-oh, it's a trap!
It's a trap!
And the facade falls to show an elaborate ruse made by that damn bat. Nutcracker, Mint, and Candy are locked up in a cage and carried off by Batman and the Mouse King, leaving Clara behind.
But the spring fairies save the day by making her a Dolly Parton vine swing and swinging her across the sea.
When Clara reaches the Mouse King's castle, she sneaks around to the dungeons to find her friends.
The king needs you right away in the courtyard. And he said if you didn't hurry, you'd spend the rest of your lives as houseflies. Or was it horseflies?
In the dungeon, she can't hear or see her friends, but they are there behind a hidden magic wall. She's too smart to be tricked by the Mouse King's spell, and she's able to smash the magic and free her friends. The Nutcracker, who has been running from his duties as a prince for too long, faces the Mouse King in an epic battle. The Mouse King sends the spell to the Nutcracker, who reflects it back at the Mouse King, causing the king to be shrinky-dinked down to size of a real mouse, and he flees. The Nutcracker is injured by his fight, and Clara holds him in his dying moments. She kisses him on the cheek and hugs him, but magic surrounds them and changes him back to his original form, the hot Prince Eric.
Clara, who at this point has been brave and clever and selfless and saved her friends on this amazing adventure, is then transformed into the Sugar Plum Princess. She was the princess all along. This is the only tiara I have. Now I'm the princess.
Eric is crowned king by some legally binding hip hip hoorays. He is no longer running from his destiny. Plus, they finally do some ballet. Clara the princess can finally dance. There's a very sweet moment where they dance and kiss, but oh no, the Bat and the Small Mouse King fly in, grab her locket, open it, and send Clara back home.
We are so close to the end of this Sugar Plum adventure and also to the end of this cosplay, so it's time for final touches.
For my accessories, I made some things that felt like the original, but weren't exactly like the original. Like these flower shells that I found at Joann's. I put them on this silver chain here. And then I found this old trim that I had, and I turned it into a bracelet and my earrings for my flower look for the dress. Then I took these moldable plastic pellets and put them into boiling water. When you put them in boiling water, they turn clear, which means you can mold them. They're pretty cool. So I used that to make these shell shapes. They're not really shells, but they are close. And I poked a hole in them so I could put them on a necklace. And then I wanted to make the beaded shell necklace that Barbie has for the beach outfit. But I found this little kit that I had laying around. And I know it's not the right colors, but it's so fun. So I just went for it. I just made myself a fun little necklace using these fun little beads. I then painted my shell shapes with this pink acrylic paint. I then took that powder that you saw and I rubbed it on top to make it shiny. And then this is the look. These are my earrings here. The back bow, like I said, for my apron is here. I have it. It's a snap closure. And then this actually can go in my hair and on the front of the apron. So it's convertible, just like everything in this project. I ended up not doing anything to the sun hat, but I could always go back and cover it with fabric if I wanted. I'm just really kind of done with working with that fabric because it was so frustrating. But we are so close to the end of this adventure, and let's just wrap things up.
After she is magically transferred home, she wakes up right where she fell asleep.
Except her Nutcracker is missing. She runs to tell her grandfather, and he's like, "You're crazy." But as he is dismissing her, Aunt Elizabeth, serving Christmas Day, introduces a young man to come and stay for dinner.
His name is Eric, and he asks her to dance. And he's a little flirty. Ooh.
We get a shot of the prince and princess dancing in a snow globe before the story ends. Back in the ballet studio, Barbie finishes her story to Kelly, who now realizes the importance of not giving up, and they both dance the solo together perfectly.
That's the first Barbie movie.
The one that started 2 decades of Barbie movies, building a following and a fandom in their own right, and ultimately leading to a new live-action movie coming out next month.
As someone that's never watched these movies, I don't feel the need to feed my nostalgia worm with these movies. I did really enjoy watching it, and though it's not going to become like a Christmas classic in my house, there are a lot of things that Kid Sean would have really liked. Firstly, the voice acting is really great, and the characters are very strong. The character designs are enough to be enjoyable, even though it does look Windows 98 screensaver at some times. The choreography of the dances was really great. I love that music. I thought all of those sequences are really great. Plus, they use a ton of music from the Tchaikovsky Ballet, and I love that. It makes me really feel like I want to get up and dance. I want to learn ballet after watching this movie. The changes that the script makes to the story are all really great. It's really reminiscent of the original ballet story, but it also makes it a whole new adventure, and I think that's really effective. Clara is a great character. I love the addition of the character of Aunt Elizabeth. I love that she has this like cool maternal aunt that's like traveling and reaching her dreams and showing her that she can go out and do a bunch of cool stuff. I also love how even though they project very hard that Clara is the Sugar Plum Princess, they also put a lot of things into her character that prove that she's worthy of that title. When the Mouse King reads off the ledger of all the princess's attributes, he mentions that she's clever. And yeah, you can say that about any heroine, but specifically in this story, they show that Clara uses her critical thinking skills a lot. She figures out that the prince is the Nutcracker before he even tells her. She outwits the guards in the dungeon, and she outwits the Mouse King and his mirror curse to find her friends. And even the prince, he shows courage and even his shame for turning his back on his people, but he has such a great character arc of coming back around and knowing what is right and what his duty is. It shows that he's a true leader, and even Candy and Mint recognize that during their journey. I feel like the narrative device is a really great way of keeping Barbie as Barbie, but allowing her to play as different characters during these stories. And Barbie even tells Kelly that you can be brave and still scared, and that you can, pick yourself up and try again, and the value of never giving up. Okay, I am opening my magic locket. It's time to take this home.
Max went to an antique mall today and found all of these gorgeous ladies. That was the video. That was my Barbie cosplay. And I watched the first Barbie movie for the first time.
I'm very happy with how it turned out, despite the fact that the fabric was fighting me the entire way. That's always how it is, isn't it?
I really hope you enjoyed that video. It's a new type of video and I really loved it. So I'm hoping to make some more in the future. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to follow me, I'm Q Facepaint on everything, and I will see you next time. Okay, love you. Bye.